In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. My name is Dr. Lewis Girgis Salib, one of the members of St. Mark Coptic Orthodox Church in Cleveland, Ohio. I already gave 22 lectures about the Coptic language. Some of them were 2 or 3 hours in length. And some of them were recorded in unprofessional places where my work was, or were not clear, or were not recorded properly. So I was asked to repeat these lessons and make it shorter. And hopefully with this group of lectures, we can present to you a better presentation. The slides are more clear. And I promised to give the lectures in Arabic and then translation for that lecture in English. You can use whichever you prefer. Whoever can read both languages, if you can listen to both Arabic and English, there will be a better benefit and double benefit. I'm doing that by the blessing of our great Pope, Father Tawadros II, our beloved Bishop, Father Seraphim, and our beloved priests, Fathers Mikhail, Mor Ozghali, and Daniel Tayyib. I hope they support me with their prayers and support that work so it can help every Coptic member to understand the origin of our prayers in our Coptic church. You know that in any language, if you read the poems and the hymns of that language in the original language, it is better understood and better enjoyable. Same for our church. Most of our church hymns and prayers are originally in Coptic language. So if you understand the origin, you can enjoy it and understand it more. Example for that, you know, the Psalms were written as poems, and many of the books of Solomon were like poems. Also, the book of Job in the Old Testament, it's actually a big poem, and so on. All these books, when you translate them, you lose the rhythm. So that's why if you go back to the original language, the Hebrew, you can understand them and enjoy them more. The Psalm 118 or 119, depending on which in the kind of print, it's formed of 22 parts according to the 22 letters of the Hebrew language. So they follow the rhythm in the Hebrew language, but if you translate it to any other language, they lose that. You still enjoy the spiritual meaning of the words, but you don't feel the rhythmic construction of that psalm because it was translated to another language. We'll start today by answering 2 important questions as a pre-lecture to present to you the Coptic language. The first question is, what is the Coptic language? And the second question, why we benefit or we should learn the Coptic language. The Coptic language is the original hieroglyphic language that was spoken by old Egypt. It was typed in the shape of birds or animals or tools that they used during their work as a symbol of the kind of work. They were carved by the priests of the old Egyptian temples on granite. From that came the word hieroglyphic. Hier means priest. Glyphic means carving. So the term hieroglyphic means carved by the priest. So the priests were expert in writing the old hieroglyphic language. But as you will see in the next lecture about the progress of the Coptic language, you'll notice that the original hieroglyphic language was in 6 something shapes. So it was difficult for regular people in Egypt to understand it or follow the hieroglyphic language. And as you see, they were written or typed or carved in the shape of animals or birds, similar to the Chinese, where they have each word is in the shape of a certain building or whatever, and it has a certain meaning. The original word at that time was known as Egypt, Syria or Canaan, Iraq, Iran area, or what they call Babel. Then, when the children of Noah, Sam, Ham, and Yavis, as we will see in the next lecture, when they started migrating after they lost the language unity, the world became a little larger, bigger. So the limit of the world now became much bigger from the east, like China or India, from the west, like Spain or what we call Tarshish, from the north, like Russia and other Gog and Magog area. From the south, Ethiopian country and the close African countries. That world became so big now for the people living in, and they wanted to make it easy to transfer letters or merchandise from different country to another country. So they started what we simulate now with mail, what we call mail now. The Syrian people were very good, and they have a big number of ships or boats, and they were expert in navigation in the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. So they started using their expertise and their boats and ships to transfer mail from one country to another. We call these people El-Ighriq. El-Ighriq. When they tried to help the Egyptian to move letters from Egypt to another country, it was very hard and very heavy to carry a letter carved on a big stone. Also, as you remember, about 300 years before Christ, Alexander the Great from Greece invaded all the known world at that time and formed what we call the Greek Empire. The Greek Empire included all the original old world we described initially. But Alexander the Great died in very young age. So the Greek Empire was divided into many parts. Egypt was ruled by a ruler named Ptolemy, with the P silent. Ptolemy, Ptolmy, or Lemy, something like this. And that will come in the next slides. At that time, the Greek told the Egyptian that they have to replace these letters carved on big stones and heavy stones to less weight papyrus paper. The papyrus is a plant which is grown in Egypt. And from the word papyrus came actually the word paper or papier in European language. So the Egyptians started to write their letters or their messages on papyrus paper. And because the Greek Empire was more prevalent now, they thought about using the old Greek alphabet to write the letters on papyrus. But since the old Greek was only formed of 24 letters, and they didn't cover all the sounds and the words of the old Egyptian hieroglyphic language, they thought about adding what is left from these sounds in a shape of 7 letters, which we will study in the next lectures. So actually, the Coptic language is formed of the 24 letters of the Old Greek, plus 7 sounds from the Old Hieroglyphic language, and one more letter in the shape of a number 6, coming from the Old Hieroglyphic language. Become 32 letters. At that time, before Alexander the Great, Egypt's name was Kemi. When the Greece, or when Alexander occupied Egypt, they started thinking about changing the name. Before they did that, the name of Egypt was Kemi. And because the Egyptians were very good in the study of subjects and the characters of materials and their reactions, the science chemistry developed all over the world and was named after the name Kemi, or the name of Egypt, Old Egypt. So that's the first word we learn now. Chemistry came from the name of Egypt, which is the hieroglyphic name before the Alexander the Great. When the hieroglyphic letters were replaced by the Old Greek letters, after the formation of the Greek Empire, the Greeks replaced Kemi, which I mentioned now, by the word Egypt. And in the 6th or 7th century after Christ, the Arabs came to Egypt, and they saw that the first letters of Egypt are the meaning there, like THE. So they removed them and called Egypt Gipt, which was pronounced by the Egyptians are Copt. So the hieroglyphic language changed to the Coptic language. First conclusion. Now, what is the Coptic language? It is the hieroglyphic or the priest-carved language of Old Egypt, replaced by the Old Greek letters and the leftover 7 letters from the Old Hieroglyphic language, forming the Coptic language of 32 letters. After we add also number 6, also U, which we'll learn in the next lectures. Second question, why should we study Coptic? There are three reasons I present here in my presentation. First important reason, the Coptic language is the only link at the present time between us and the ancient Egyptian language, which carries within it the history of the greatest civilization of the world in ancient history. And I'm proud that the original Egyptian civilization was the best few thousand years ago. Until now, there's a lot of things we don't understand from the old Egyptian civilization in the temples, and we still don't understand how they did them. Second reason why we should study Coptic. Coptic language is the language used to write all the melodies, hymns, prayers, and praises of the Coptic Church. And as I told you initially, when you study any melody or poem in the original language, it is the most enjoyable and the most understandable. Recently, there's a nice work done by a group of active Copts when they could retrieve the Coptic translation of the New Testament from the Septuagint translation. I don't know if that pronunciation is correct. Septuagint, which is a ترجمة السبعينية. From set in French means seven. What's a Septuagint translation? The Septuagint translation was ordered by Egypt ruler Ptolemy 2 centuries or more before the incarnation of Christ to translate the Old Testament from the original Hebrew language. Since the Jews spread all over the Greek Empire, and some of them forgot the Hebrew, and some of them learned the local language in their country of migration. So he wanted to translate to them, or for them, the Old Testament from the Hebrew language so they can understand it. So he invited 72 scientists from the Jews who know very well Hebrew and Greek, and he asked them in each separate tent to translate the Old Testament, so that when he has 70 translation, actually 36 translation, no one can falsify or translate in a wrong way. And we know the famous story about one of them, Sam'an, the elder, who was mentioned in the Gospel of St. Luke. He was translating the book of Isaiah and got to the verse which says, "Oh, the virgin will get pregnant." He couldn't translate the virgin get pregnant because he thought that they will laugh at him and say he doesn't know how to translate. So he wanted to change the word virgin to like the lady, the girl, the woman. Every time he's trying to do that, the pen broke and he couldn't do it. So the angel came to him and said to him, "Simon, you will live until you see by your own eyes Jesus Christ, born from a virgin." And he lived over 270 years until he went to the temple by the preparation from the Lord, when Jesus Christ was taken by Saint Mary and Saint Joseph to be circumcised and named when they do circumcision, they name the child and at the time. So he carried Jesus on his hands and said, "Now the Lord, let me go to heaven after I have seen your promise by him carrying Jesus Christ on his hands." And as we know in the history of the Coptic church, the Synaxarium, it says that Saman the elder died next day after he carried Jesus Christ on his hands and saw him and saw the incarnation happening in front of his eyes. Third reason why Coptic language is very vital and very important, it is part of our world from our different countries and our local language. So the Coptic language is used in many expressions in the current Egyptian language and also in the universal or international language. Examples of the international language here. In the Coptic language, Sini, the word Sini in Coptic, let me spell it to you. Sima, that's the only S in the hieroglyphic language or Coptic language. Ita looks like H, but it's double E. Yota like I. Nei like N. Yota I. It's pronounced Sini, not Chini, Sini. And it means doctor, medical doctor. In a hieroglyphic language, when I want to transform an adjective to a noun, I add a prefix called met. May, like M, A, which looks like E in English, but pronounced like A in French. Taf, so met. If I put met before sini, it becomes medicini or medicine. Second example, if I ask any one of you, what's the meaning of Christmas? Nobody knows. Mass is a hieroglyphic word which means birth. So Christ Mass means Christ birth. Birth of Christ. That's another word every person knows it in the world, and they don't know how it came from or where it came from. Christmas means the birth of Christ and its hieroglyphic in origin. Now, locally in Egypt, in our everyday language, we actually don't talk pure Arabic. Our Arabic is mixed much with the hieroglyphic language. That's why the Arabic of Egypt is not exactly Arabic. It is a mixture of the two languages, and it's different from Arabic in other Arabic countries around us. That's why it's very easy for all the Arabic countries around us to understand the Egypt Arabic, since many of our teachers, Egyptian teachers and Egyptian doctors, went to work in the Arabic countries around, so they could understand our language. Also, most of the movies known in the Arabic Middle East world, most of these movies are enjoyed by other Arabic countries, so they can understand the Egypt accent, which is, as I told you, a mixture of Arabic and hieroglyphic. The other way around, the Egyptian can not understand easy the other Arabic dialects. I remember an example of that. I was working as a fellow in pain management in the Cleveland Clinic in 1992, and we had the patient, the princess of Kuwait, and she needed a pain management machine And we have to explain to her before we use that machine how it works. So they asked me as an Arabic language talking fellow to go and explain to her how the pain management machine will be working for her. I tried to explain to her the mechanism and how it works. She couldn't understand me in Arabic. And when she asked me my questions, I couldn't understand her questions in Arabic, her Kuwaiti Arabic. Mine was Egyptian Arabic, which I told you about now. So finally we talked in English because we couldn't communicate with the different dialects of Arabic. I have difficulty understanding her Kuwaiti dialect, and she has difficulty understand my Egyptian dialect. So now I'll give you examples of the local use of the hieroglyphic language in the Egyptian language, or the present Egyptian dialect. The word falafel, pronounced falafel, meaning طعمية in our local language. طعمية from the word ta'ma in Arabic means has very good taste. Fa means in it. La, many. Fel means bean. So falafel means there is a lot of beans. So falafel originally was made of a lot of beans, despite the fact that was printed in our old Egyptian temples that they prefer to use the cowpeas instead of beans, since they are easier to be digested than the regular fava beans. The cowpeas also was preferred by other African countries in Egypt over the fava beans, and they are actually considered now the basic local food for most of Africa. Also, as for the word falafel, also many other countries in the area enjoy using falafel. And even after migration of the Middle East people to Europe, America, and Australia, they started making falafel. And the European people, American and Australian, enjoy eating it. But many of those countries or people are now preparing falafel not from beans, but from ground wheat, which we call burghul, or from hard dried peas, or from what we call hummus. And actually falafel is one of the major foods of Asian countries like Armenia and Bangladesh. Another word we use in our local restaurant in Egypt, the word koshari, made from lentils and other like rice and macaroni, pasta, or whatever. The word koshari is an Indian word which means 10 or more, or many grains. It has the meaning of 10 or many grains. And the food koshari is called by the Syrian and the Lebanese people mujaddara. Next word we discuss is hila hop. It is sung by the construction workers in Egypt, and they say hila hop. It means it is time to work a lot. Let me break it down for you. He means at the time of, la means many, and hop means work, hoppa or hop. Hila hop, it's time for us to work hard. Word kush tiban, pronounced kush tipan. Kush means break, tip like fingertip, it's the same like in English, tip, and for negation. when you put an in any after any Coptic sentence or Coptic word, it put it in negation, negative. So it means does not break the finger. By the needle, I mean. There is another word which we consider benign, but actually it is a bad word. It's called a. When we meet something and we try to express denunciation or exclamation, we use that sentence, son of A, ya ibn al-A, O son of A. A means a son of a cow or a calf. So as if we are saying to him, you are the son of a cow or an animal, which is an insult. Don't say it. And remember, in the day of the entrance of Jesus Christ to Jerusalem, Palm Sunday, we say that Jesus went in Jerusalem by an AO. AO is the donkey. There is another word for the donkey, which I don't want to mention here, since it can mean something not very polite. And you understand what I mean. Other words in quick now, marmata or marmat means a person suffered a lot of pain. Trapeza means table, and trapeza is actually a Greek word, table. There is another word in Coptic which means table, it's vorshi. And when we add ma before vorshi to mean the cloth which covers the table, becomes ma vorshi, or we say it in Arabic or Egyptian, mafrash. Lampa is a Greek word which means that lamp we use now. And surprise, that we had in the Greek and the old Egyptian a knowledge of the lamp. Originally it was used by using gas or kerosene, but now it's used by electricity, as we know. The word kuta in Egypt, or uta, always means tomatoes, but actually the original word kuta in hieroglyphic means a fruit, any fruit. P means the in in hieroglyphic, the for the masculine singular. Ech means goblin or Satan. P-ech, it's like shikaboo, which we play with children, or when we try to scare somebody. So Bech is the goblin or the Satan. Also the word echi, an expression the Egyptians have when they see something disgusting or not clean or not pure. The word Hanafiya, that's a tap, is used in Egypt a lot. Hatatak batatak, that's a term in Egypt when you enjoy food so good that you eat all of it. Hatatak means meat, batatak means bone, meat and bone. Means that you eat everything, meat and bone. Sok in Egyptian means lock. So the upper Egyptian woman will say to her son, sok the door means lock the door. Abai, a sign of astonishment and denunciation, and used in Upper Egypt to express anger. Ibrim means ripe. So when we say balah ibrimi or ibrim date, means ripe dates. Itai means valley. Like when we say Itai el Barud, means the valley of the gunpowder. Agana means hammer. Iddini, a word or a verb used by the regular Egyptians which means give me. Comes from the Coptic or hieroglyphic word Edonai, means give me. Ardab is a measure of agricultural scales, Ardab. HD is a word used by Lebanese or Syrian and it's coming from hieroglyphic, which means what is that? Ashmonin come from the number eight in hieroglyphic Ishmin. So Ashmonin is a country of number 8 or has number 8. Etsa is the name of another town in Egypt. It's hieroglyphic. The word F means it's disgusting and it means flies. And the word F was taken from hieroglyphic into the Quran for the Muslims when they say what it means in English. The Lord ordered all of you to respect your parents, so don't say to them the word F, which means flies or bad things. Afsikh means fish salted. As you know, the fish in Egypt, when they salt it, they let it break down a little bit first and then they add the salt. So they call it afsikh or al-fisikh in Egypt. Or also the word embu, which is mentioned by children, or we teach our children when he wants to drink water. Ammar al-aish, expression in Egypt when we ask somebody to heat the bread. Ammar, the al-aish, or heat the bread. Amhat means silver, and we describe with that word the silver-colored dates. Ah means yes. Oppa, coming from Greek, means be nashat and work, or means O power. Last word, awbash. It's a bad word. It means people who have no value. When we meet some people who are bad behavior people, or they have no education and no good manners, we call them awbash. It's an insult. Don't say it, because we don't like to insult people. By this, I come to the end of my lecture today as an introduction for the Coptic language classes. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you in next lectures about Coptic language. God bless all of you. Thank you very much.